Sometimes I just let that play. Like I don't. Sometimes I cut it off, and sometimes I'm enjoying that shit. I'm gonna let it run. What's going on, everybody? It is I, Alex McCarthy, and it is SP3 to my right. The Daily Boys are back. The original tandem has reunited because we've had to pass Brother Sat onto a rival, a competitor. He's dead to us. No, he's not. We love Sat. But it is SP3. Of course, it's Monday Night Live right here on ITR Clips. SP3, man, what's up? You good? Back in America, home soil?
I'm still getting used to the time difference, Alex, but I am here. We are without Sat. God bless his soul. He has signed with WCW for guaranteed money, but we are very happy for him. We're like the members of the clique still left behind, but neither one of us is Hunter Hearst Helmsley and being punished for it.
Yeah, yet. Kenny cracks that whip. We're gonna have to watch out for that. Thank you for joining us tonight, guys. As you can see by the title of the video, we are going to jump into a myriad of reports about Roman Reigns, somebody that everyone is talking about right now, it would appear, if it's a news outlet. So we're going to jump into a series of reports that we've seen surface online today, and we might chat about whatever. If you guys in the live chat want to ask us a question at any point, get it down. If you want to help the show, you can donate via Super Chat. You see that, or ITR Clips, whatever you do, whatever message you leave, we will read out on this show. So make sure you be the good Samaritans you are of wrestling Twitter, or wherever you may humbly hail from, and do the Lord's work. Also, like, share, subscribe, all of the good things for ITR Clips. We've seen a big bump in subscribers since we started this show. That makes me very happy. And thank you for your support. SP3, man, you had a busy week with True Hill Heat. What you guys been up to?
Yeah, I mean, coming out of last weekend, we had our all-out review. We did True Hill Heat 192 on Saturday, talking about all the news coming out of AEW All Out, because CM Punk has been on the headlines everywhere he didn't want to be with misinformation, and his rant and the post-show scrum has caused a lot of work for wrestling journalism in general. So yeah, I got that on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel. Our AEW Dynamite review every single Thursday is up on there as well. So I've been keeping busy with this, with True Hill Heat, but I'm ready to talk to my brother from an Irish mother. It's been a whole week since we discussed wrestling news.
Yeah.
And we got actual WWE news for once, which
Yeah.
I thought at the beginning of this year and then into the early part of the summer, I thought WWE dominated the news headlines. But after last week, I think I need a break from talking about AEW.
Oh, it's just a bunch of drama, man. What's funny? So, as some people will be aware, I do a lot of my wrestling stuff here now with Inside the Ropes. But my day-to-day job is with Daily Mail, and they don't really cover WWE. I mean, they covered Vince but they don't really cover it day to day. They're not going to do who's in line for a push, brother. None of that stuff. But I went in last week and I was like, look, I know we don't cover wrestling, but this is some wild shit. I was like, this will get clicks. You gotta believe me. There's backstage fights. Kenny Omega's. But I loved Kenny anyway. But now the man is out here saving dogs. Oh my god.
My heart grew.
Sold.
Further, we try our best. When you do shows like this, you try your best to stay on the middle ground, not go from any side to side. And I will tell, each side of the story as correctly as I can from the reports that's been let out. But everything I've been hearing makes me Team Elite. I am Team Elite. It is too sweet to be elite. You got Kenny saving dogs. You got Matt and Nate Jackson, who they were accused of super kick partying the door down. They went in there with the legal officer of the company.
And HR.
Who does that? Who does that? Who super kicks the door down? Hey, legal person that could get me in trouble if I do this. Watch this.
Yeah. Ridiculous. As soon as I heard Kenny saved Larry, I was like, well, I don't care what side of history I'm on now. I'm with Kenny. That's it. Sold. Hook, line, and sinker. Man, that was wild. I'll tell you what else was wild before we jump into our Roman stuff. How do I even start this? Sasha and Naomi. Good Lord. Horny Twitter lost their damn mind yesterday with
the stretching video
session. Oh my God. Listen, I'm a man. I'm not gonna cast any aspersions at these horny people. I'm understanding the content, Sid. Right? I understand, but whoo, I mean, they gotta know what they're putting out there. They have to know.
This is all to get people talking about their return. People was talking about Sasha and Naomi all weekend long, and it wasn't for any of the reasons that people thought they were going to talk about them about.
No, but I mean, what's cool though, incredible stretching aside, they were doing like runways, like they was hanging out with Bailey. Like there was a lot of cool stuff. They're busy. They look happy. Mainly, that's the most important thing to me. They look really, really happy. Who knows what their wrestling future is, but as a baseline, that's the best we can hope for, I think.
Yeah, as long as they're happy, they're walking the runway at New York Faction Week. So I'm very happy for them. It just put Sasha Naomi stretching, Ryan.
You can't miss it, Ryan.
You just put it in the search bar on Twitter. It'll take a few seconds, and then you can come back here and put in the live chat like, "Oh, I see why it was so popular."
Listen, we are taken men. We are professionals, but goddamn, they are. That is some content. That's what I'll say to keep it diplomatic. Christ, wowzers, ladies, congrats. Let's keep it moving, man. We've got Roman to talk about. We talk. You know what? Before I actually do get on to Roman specifically, I'll tell you what I did see today. I don't know if you did, but I only saw it because Jeremy shared it, and somebody had wrote an article for bodyslam.net criticizing the journalistic integrity of wrestling journalists today, right? Specifically, having some harsh words about people at the AEW scrum, and he didn't name me, but he basically should have said about the Roman thing last week at the WWE scrum. And the tweet was not long deleted because the grammar was horrendous and there was about 7 spelling mistakes. I love Cassidy Haynes, by the way, who runs bodyslam.net. Big fan of his. He didn't write the article, but he probably should have proofread it. That's what I will say. If you're going to come for journalists and you're going to come with grammar mistakes and spelling mistakes, come on, dude. Come on, man. There's no leg to stand on. No leg to stand on. My main thing just on that, as we discussed last week, right? Like to me, people love to throw around the integrity word, right? If any journalist isn't like stoic and just straight hard nosed journalist, right? Then there's something wrong with their integrity or whatever. You do have to realize wrestling is a medium like none other. It's not hard sports, right? It is entertainment. It's like covering a TV show as a critic, essentially. And we do some digging to find out what's going on in storylines or not. And every now and again, right, speaking out and the Vince McMahon, there is hard journalism to be done, right? For the most part, there's a lot that's in character. It's not like you're interviewing a fucking MP. These people are playing a character. Like Roman was when I spoke to him, WWE. Fully character. I've spoken to the man out of character several times. Tremendous guy. But on that night, it's a WWE production, part of their show. They're streaming it, right? The people are going to be in character. There's going to be remnants of story going on. The only person who was ever going to answer questions, really, was Triple H. That was it, really.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, you don't lose integrity because, he's like, oh, you want to be a part of the show. It's got nothing to do with that, really. I've said for a long time, I acknowledge Roman. On a fan level, I acknowledge that man, and I always will. It's just amusing to me that people like that discredits your body of work. Really, like it. To me, and I would equate this to Sean Ross Sapp. The body of work is what it is, right? Some people have a go at Sean for his attitude online sometimes. not my place. But that's got nothing to do with how incredibly accurate his work is. So, like, let's not just band around terms like integrity, where people don't actually realize where it equates to, because you get a lot of people that don't really know what journalism is, especially in this evolved industry today, right? Like, I work in newsrooms. I work in, I've got like diplomas and degrees and obviously all of that stuff. It's not what a lot of people think it is, or they cry for it to be like it was. It's an evolved game, guys. Okay, especially in a nuanced world like wrestling. If you're looking for a hard-nosed wrestling journalist, David Bixenspan is amazing. He really is. But even he has his own opinions, right? And his own things on Twitter and stuff. Like, it's not a robotic genre. That'd be my take. But anyway, that article really had nothing to do with anything other than me getting off my chest what I felt about last week, because there was a couple of
Let
people
him
who did feel
know.
that way. I had to say it. Like that's one of my main things. Is like, I actually do it, and then people tell me how it should be done, and I'm like, I think I'm doing it at a fairly good level here. I think I know where, the time and the place. How you play, you got to play the game, as people say sometimes. If you don't want to hear that, or you're too high and mighty to do that, we'll see how far you get. Anyway, that was my rant. I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that, SB3.
I always notice that it's usually people that are punching up that do that type of talking, and it doesn't help where your position is at in the world. Alex is where he is, and I was so happy to see him be a part of the press conference. Like, I was happy for a bunch of my friends during the All Out press conference.
Yeah.
And when you start throwing around the word integrity and this is the journalism integrity, playing along with a character in wrestling, you don't know what genre you're actually writing about. If you don't think there is never going to be a time where the interviewer or the journalist is not gonna play along with the character. I did a whole interview with Rosemary where we reference Courtney, the real Rosemary, but it was completely 100% in character talking to Rosemary. It is what it is. Like, this is something different than what you're going to be writing about if you're writing about football or basketball. This is wrestling, so get with the program.
And also, like, and I feel like, and I can only speak for myself in this instance, I guess, but you've got, multiple different outlets. Like, I'm not trying to convince you I'm anything other than what I am. Like, I've taken photos with wrestlers. I'm a fan at heart, and I'm a qualified journalist who happened to be able to get into that, right? Like, to be able to parlay my love for wrestling into like a nice career for a while. I'm not trying to, present this thing and then you go, oh my God, how could he now do this bit with anything? Well, hang on a minute. Like, I've kept it the same energy forever. Like, it's not, if you like it, cool. If you don't, keep it moving. That's generally the motto for anything, really. But that's it, really. Like, I really don't take. You just said about punching up. That's just a very, very fair thing to say. I don't look at that as criticism that I should, or anyone for that matter, really should take on board. You should really look at who you take your advice from, right? You shouldn't take criticism from somebody you wouldn't take advice from, basically. Let's talk Roman, though. We're kind of on Roman. Louis tweeted a slew of reports today.
Oh, boy.
None of which are his. But you wouldn't know that until you click on it. Let's dive into the first one, shall we? This one is basically about Roman Reigns' upcoming WWE schedule. Tore the house down with Drew in Cardiff. We know this. Wasn't on SmackDown. Solo Sikoa's debut came just with the Usos and the honorary Uce, which is still bloody entertaining to me. Oh, did he? I didn't even know this, Stu. But, I don't hold no grudges against anyone, to be clear. Wish him all the best. Didn't see it, though. Why would I? Anyway, with Roman, it's one of those things where his schedule, of course, he's got both titles, but his schedule has been widely talked about SP3 for a while. The latest Wrestling Observer, Dave Meltzer, says His schedule coming up is not as busy as some people would like. Reigns is not on Extreme Rules on the 8th of October in Philadelphia, and his next major match is on the Saudi Arabia show. That'd be Crown Jewel. I was told it's not Seth Rollins or Kevin Owens, even though both have teased it, and based on build, one would expect those two matches at some point. Interesting from Uncle Dave. SP3. What are your reaction to that? Karrion Kross seems like he's kind of floating around the mix. Whether he fused with Drew, who knows how that works out? Maybe you run it back with Drew. Drew doesn't seem to be done with the bloodline. I guess they could do Kevin Owens, but I'm loving. I think you park him into the Uso storyline with Sami Zayn,
Yeah.
than Roman. And also, when it comes to Seth, I don't think you run that back until Seth beats him, personally. And I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon. So, what do you think?
I mean, it's very interesting, and I never thought Roman was going to be on Extreme Rules because you have to look at the pattern that we've seen since WrestleMania. Extreme Rules is not going to be
Get
the
the hat
event
on.
that we have. We have a Roman Reigns match at. I think that you should probably expect Drew McIntyre versus Karrion Kross, maybe an Extreme Rules match to probably be one of the headline matchups for that show. But come Crown Jewel, that's when it becomes interesting is who they would have in position. And I would think because of the matchup with Karrion Kross and Drew McIntyre, and you want to think that this program is supposed to position Karrion Kross in a main event spot for the long term, for the future, I would think you do a three-way with those three guys. You do Drew, Karrion, and Roman, because just Karrion being involved in that match, and say it is another excellent match like Drew and Roman delivered at Clash at the Castle, that's going to further establish him in the headline spot.
Yeah, and that's absolutely true. He doesn't even have to take the pin. I'm not saying Drew does or should, but he could take it if you're hell bent on making Karrion Kross. It's interesting. John, thank you very much, John, for your donation. Says it's about getting to Mania season now for Reigns, and that's absolutely true. Of course, it is for your top player. We widely expect it to be The Rock. We'll get into that shortly. But it's just, okay, what do you do between now and then? Of course, the Saudi Arabia is the big money event. You've got the Royal Rumble. Probably Elimination Chamber is also in Saudi, so he'll probably work that as well. Those are likely to be the three cards you've got for Roman Reigns.
And day one, they might want to put him on day since he missed last year.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And they tried to make that big deal last year. So, you could a Survivor Series as well. We're missing out here. I
would have any other year I would have been like, oh, Survivor Series ain't important, but they just sold this out in Boston, so you would think that they would want to put on at least a memorable show on that
night. The thing is, right? You have to put Roman in the team scenario, right? Because you can't do champion versus champion. So presumably you can't do the same with the Usos. So that's Bloodline is a team, right? It's right there. Roman, Uso, Sikoa, Zayn. And then I would love to see Zayn get the shot at Roman eventually. He obviously loses, but I'd still love the story to be done amazingly like that. And then you could have Zayn and Owens beat the Usos eventually. Like that would work for me. Even WrestleMania, maybe. But anyway, you do the Bloodline. Presumably, well, Drew, obviously, Profits. I'm just thinking of babyface tag teams, really. Kevin Owens, maybe you chuck on there, yeah. To further along that story, and then you need one more.
I would think maybe by then Riddle would be done with them, and he will always have that thing that they took out Randy, so you could throw him in there too.
Yeah, that's true. There we go. There are options for Roman, but either way, his schedule is not going to be getting any more packed anytime soon. And anyone who's thinking that it will, I would park those hopes to the side. Another report. This one comes from Ringside News. SP3.
Pinch yourself.
Yeah, but again, I'm just going with what Louis tweeted today. So there you go. A new report from Ringside News has claimed that WWE Creative recently brought up the idea of turning Roman Reigns babyface. You don't say. Reigns, as well as Paul Heyman for that matter, reportedly both outright rejected the pitch, saying they have no idea to stop being heels right now. Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman refuse to let the Tribal Chief character fall into any babyface category. We were told that he will only be classified as a villain, and that is there. Cool. Now, again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. He was organically becoming a babyface anyway, and I feel like he's kind of got his heel steam back because he's not there enough. Is that fair to say?
Yes, it feels like he's starting to get Roman Reigns 2017 heat, where
Or Rock 2002 heat.
Yeah, Rock 2002, Brock 2017. Yeah, the part time when you're not there as much and they want you to be there because you're the champion, it always going to generate that type of heat, and that's what Roman is getting. But I would say the real reason why he's starting to get his organic heel heat back is Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn has created a new character in this story for the fans to get behind, because people been trying to keep saying that it's Jey Uso, because the Jey Uso storyline was great. It was fantastic. It was probably the peak of this whole entire Roman Reigns story, and that was the first feud. But Jey Uso ain't gonna be that dude that ends this streak, that ends this title reign. It ain't gonna be him. They have clearly positioned him as the tag team guy, as the guy that takes the fall for guys that are heating up for Roman Reigns. He ain't the guy that's gonna beat Roman Reigns. No matter how great you think that story would be, it ain't gonna be him. But you needed a new character to kind of root for, because that's what Jey Uso was for a long time in the first 6 months of the story. And now Sami Zayn has created himself as that, because the story really picked up steam when Zayn was reacted to like a babyface in Montreal. So that created that type of energy. And now every week they're one of the most entertaining things about anything in wrestling. You just want to see Sami interact with Roman. You want to see how Jey Uso is going to hate on Sami. You want to see Solo Sikoa's reaction to Sami, and now he seems to be cool with him after Sami took the chair shot for him. So there's all these different elements, all these different characters that make it very entertaining again, and I think that's why Roman is getting his heat back.
And that's the thing as well. Like, is Sami going to be they've got a real chance to make Sami Zayn like top babyface material coming out of this storyline? How hard are they going to go in it? Right. That is the question we're all wondering. It's wonderful that Jey is doubting him every single week and just he's straight up hating. Whereas Jimmy's not. Jimmy's all in. He chuckles at Sami. He's allowed to freely chuckle, as I'm sure Jey actually wants to. Because Sami has been just wildly entertaining. I don't want to make a direct correlation, but I do think that Sami, and you could do it with KO, you could get to the point of what Jericho and Benoit were against Triple H and Austin in 2001. Like that white hot, and I know they're Canadians, so you see where I'm going with this. That, if you haven't seen it, you really need to. It's maybe the most electric match I've ever seen in Raw history. Like, the crowd are going mental. And everyone only remembers that match for Triple H tearing his quad. And, of course, you don't remember that match because Benoit was in it. But if
you could take that out of the play, it's one of the greatest Raw matches of all time.
Easily in my top 3, perhaps. 5 or 3. Amazing match. You could recapture that moment with a great build. Sami and KO have, kind of like Benoit and Jericho were, like perennial rivals, turned friends again. And they could be the ones to topple the Usos. Okay, the Usos aren't Roman Reigns, but they've been champions for over a year. It would be a big scalp, and it would be a great kind of launch pad for KO and Zayn. I really, really hope we get that. Like, I want KO and Zayn as a tag team, but I can't think of a better way to get there than this.
Yeah, I mean, this is what really happened, kind of the organic them coming about and getting over as a tag team. That's what happened in Ring of Honor. When they first came in, they were just supposed to be just another tag team that loses to the champions, the Briscoes at the time, but they impressed so much in that first match, they got a job to come to the next town, the next tour, and the next tour after that. And then in the feud with the Briscoes, they were the heels and they got over as babyface, and from their babyface chase of the titles and winning the titles, they became main eventers. So that's what I want to see again. I want to see it be done on the biggest stage possible, and that's WWE. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens have been two of the most reliable guys on that entire roster. You had Sami Zayn have one of the most memorable matches of the year with Johnny Knoxville from Jackass, and Kevin Owens. You put the company basically on his back to do all the build to a WrestleMania main event on his own, and then he made sure that 57-year-old Stone Cold Steve Austin was safe enough for one more match after what 13 years being 20 nearly 20 years being gone from the ring. These two guys deserve this opportunity, and I agree with you. I hope it comes from this story, because this is the type of story that people will remember years down the run, like they do Jericho and Benoit.
Oh man, you got me thinking about Austin. You've got me thinking about Austin. I mean, I wonder if we see him at Mania. Do you think?
Could be another person. I would say Austin and Seth. That'd probably be a route that they would go down.
Yeah. I could see that too. You know, I mean, Seth will just, I know, deserves a dirty word in wrestling. Seth is the guy that you would like to say, okay, give him that massive moment, massive star. His work has been incredible for the past year or two. I would argue beyond that, but I know people get pissy. But it's one of them, man, where Austin was open to it after the last WrestleMania. You don't want to overdo it. And when you look back and you think, you know what, Kevin Owens is probably the perfect foil, because he could do the scrapping believably, and the stunners, all of that good stuff. But yeah, I like the idea of Seth. I just wonder if it was more plausible with Vince, because Vince and Steve had that kind of Triple H is kind of going in a different direction, it seems. I don't know. It's one to think about. Speaking of WrestleMania, Roman Reigns, of course, the latest report that, or the third report, I should say, that we had of the day came from WrestlingNews.co. And they say Triple H is planning on Roman Reigns to stay as undisputed Universal Champion and for the remainder of 2022. WrestlingNews.co was told by someone familiar with the creative process that nothing has changed and there are still no plans for him to lose the title this year. The source, who is familiar with the creative process, why they keep laying it out, told WrestlingNews.co that Triple H is moving forward with the original plans, and the idea is still for Reigns to talk into WrestleMania as walk. Come on, guys, into WrestleMania as champion. If plans stay the same, Reigns would beat The Rock and then lose the title sometime after Mania. Let me start this by saying Ringside News, WrestlingNews.co, they're not my go-tos. They're not Fightful or, most of the time The Observer and PW Insider. That's pretty much it. And Andrew Zarian. That's pretty much it. But I just think I don't want to be too harsh. At worst, it's a good educated guess, because I actually think what they're saying there could actually play out. I do think Roman's going to go to WrestleMania as champion. I don't think there are arguments that he doesn't need to. You could have The Rock cost him as the title along the way, and then you get to the tribal chief story that way. The only thing I was going to say to you, Sid, what do you do with the Rumble if this is the plan?
That's exactly what my first thought was. If you're doing Rock and Roman for both championships, you are nuking the Royal Rumble, because it's basically nuking the Royal Rumble, because either the Royal Rumble winner is not going to get a shot at the double champions, or the Royal Rumble winner will be The Rock in 2022. That neither one of those is a good option, whether you want to believe me or not.
I am the biggest Rock guy. Huge. Love The Rock in this house, right? Do not give that man the Royal Rumble. What a meteoric, terrible waste that would be. Could telegraph it a mile off if he says he's going in it. I don't want to see that again. It was just like, just like when The Rock beat Punk and you bloody knew who was going to win the Rumble or vice versa. It was always going to be Cena because you knew where you was getting to. Like, come on, man. I need something more than that. I don't know if The Rock's going to be around before the Rumble to set this up. It's up for debate. If he is, begin to worry. If he isn't, then that probably gives us a solid indication that Roman might drop one or both titles and The Rock might cost him, and that's how we get there. That's how I'm looking at it in my mind. I think the easiest solution to all of that would be that he just drops one title, right? Maybe you do this triple threat in Crown Jewel, two out of three or two falls, right? Remember WrestleMania 2000? I think it was that, where European,
Yes.
Intercontinental. Maybe you do it like that. It's a bit weird because I don't know what belt you put as the first fall. Kind of devalues it, I guess. But Roman wins the second fall, great. But somebody takes the first pin, and then they
The
go
best
away.
idea I heard was having Drew beat Roman at Clash at the Castle, and then Paul Heyman returns and says, well, you little did you know that match was only for the WWE Championship. So still a Universal Champion, because that gets heat. That gets heat on Roman Reigns, and it gives Drew his moment without giving him his moment.
Yeah, but it would also keep Roman's concurrent run alive. You could still say he's been champion for over, however many days, because he has. It's a shame we're past that, because you're right. That would have been the best idea. I don't know how we get to a satisfactory Rock and Roman at Mania. And I've said this many times before. The two biggest matchups you could possibly do in wrestling, for the men, it's the Rock and Roman. You can give me a Kenny Omega or whoever and tell me it'll be better, and it would. But as far as the biggest box office matchup that would draw, there is nothing bigger than that. And the other one is Becky Lynch and Rousey. I thought that has cooled off significantly, but I don't think it would take a lot to get it back to where it needs to be. That'd be my argument, SB3.
Yeah, and I don't know about that matchup now, because Ronda's getting over so good as a baby face again, and it's just like, are we gonna detour that and risk pitting her against a better baby face in Becky Lynch again, and it causes her to go heel, or does she really want that? I know Ronda wants to be heel, but this is like the loudest reaction she's getting since she debuted, so I don't know if they want to ruin that.
Yeah, I was thinking about this as well, like who wins the Rumble for the women, right? Because if you've got, for all intents and purposes, if Sasha and Naomi do come back, it does look like they're going to come back as a tandem. They are like stuck at the hip right now. But a case could be made if you do bring Sasha back, like that should be, she should be coming back as like your number one pick along with Becky, and like she needs to be the same billing as your Beckys and your Rondas. I've always said this, but she does. And I don't think she's ever quite, despite her body of work being legendary already, I don't feel like Vince saw her as the same marquee attraction as Becky and Ronda. And it took Becky forever to change that perception as well, by the way. And then you've got Charlotte Flair, who's been out for a long time, that you have to factor in at some point. So
yeah. I thought after last year's WrestleMania, I thought the two title matches for the women would be Becky versus Ronda and Bianca versus Charlotte. But I can't see them do, especially under Triple H, I can't see them not doing both championship matches without Bayley, especially with how she's been positioned since her return and under Triple H. I would think that she is going to factor in that situation in somehow.
Can I offer a point here? Can I offer a fantasy? Like for me, I think it would be criminal if we went through WrestleManias and you didn't get a Bayley and Sasha Banks match, right? They've had amazing matches, okay? If you gave them a ladder match, or just I don't know, you could even do the cell again at WrestleMania. It'd be amazing. You do Bayley and Sasha Banks if you can. Now, the only problem with that is if you do Ronda and Becky, which again I still could very much see Triple H doing, and then let's say you do Sasha and Bayley, well, what do you do with Charlotte Flair? Because like her whole thing, from a WWE perspective anyway, is just titles. It feels like they'd crowbar her in somewhere. Don't get me wrong, still a huge proponent of Charlotte Flair in the ring. Think she's great. And if they gave her a non-title story, like a really cool one, like maybe Rhea Ripley, now that she's heel, is like, you know what, fuck you, Charlotte Flair. You've beat me so many times. I'm going to take you to Mania and beat you. Or you do that story with Asuka again. Fine. Give me more women's matches. It doesn't have to be for the title. But if you pinned me down and said, okay, what would your 2 women's title matches be now? I think it would be Ronda and Becky and Bayley and Sasha in a perfect world. But then again, what do you do with Bianca Belair? There's so many things to think about.
I wouldn't do Sasha and Bayley just because I feel like they when you miss out on that opportunity before, you can always get around to it. But as we stand right now, I can't see that happening. I could see them doing something like I'll do my Hangman Page, book him into the trios tournament type of thing where you do the women's tag team championships. Dakota Kai gets injured and you do Bayley and Io Sky versus Sasha and Naomi. Boom, book it. And then they battle for the 2 titles they were the first champions of at WrestleMania. I think that's your consolation prize because I don't see it being the singles. I don't see Charlotte Flair not being in a championship matchup, and I don't see Ronda or Becky not being in a championship matchup. And I think for Bianca Belair's story at WrestleMania, Charlotte Flair is like a no-brainer, nail on the head type of matchup for her. She's already beaten Sasha Banks at WrestleMania, already beaten Becky Lynch. If she's champion for a whole year from WrestleMania to WrestleMania, that means she had beaten Bayley again. So she's beaten every horsewoman except for one, and that's Charlotte Flair. And if she has a year-long run going into that, that's like if you did a poll, people would think 50-50. They would think, yeah, it's the right time for Bianca to win, but it's Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania against a year-long champion. You would think Charlotte's going to win that.
Yeah. I mean, the great thing with Triple H, we know how much he values a lot of these women. He's helped. They've come through his system. I honestly think, I don't want to say it's like China, but Rhea Ripley's being positioned as like the physically dominant woman, right? Like they're really giving her a lot of credence. How long do you hold off Rhea versus Beth? Because again, that to me, you could put that on Mania. You could easily put that on Mania.
That is true. That is a Mania match. I would think if they prolong the whole feud with Judgment Day, that's their matchup you do at but that's the matchup you would do. You would do Edge and Beth versus Balor and Ripley. And also we have to take into account Ripley never got her shot that she was supposed to get at Money in the Bank when she went down for the injury. So you would think, especially if Bianca Belair is going to have a longer run and it's not going to end at the hands of Bayley, you would think Rhea Ripley has to be in line to be one of the contenders.
Yeah, she has to be a factor. I mean, again, so many options for the ladies. Like it's an embarrassment of riches for WWE when you think about it. With a full deck, we're speculating here. Charlotte's not even around right now, or Sasha Banks. But there are options that are emerging.
And they're building out this Ronda and Shayna story very well on
I like that on SmackDown. I liked it. When you're ready to wink, wink. I was like, yeah, damn. And that's another great ripple to the story. If they do actually end up teaming up and Sasha and Naomi do come back, it's about time they had some real star power again to rejuvenate the titles.
Yeah. Then that matchup definitely would do that immediately. So yeah, the women's division has a bunch of options. It's kind of sad that the men's division really doesn't. It really doesn't. It's Roman Reigns versus this person, Roman Reigns versus that person. And I've said this argument on Food Faces. I'll make it sure I say it here. Cody Rhodes ain't the person to beat Roman Reigns in my eyes, because I feel Cody Rhodes' legacy is already intact. He was a part of creating the second biggest promotion in North America. He's our former Ring of Honor champion, former NWA champion. The WWE championship would elevate what he's already built as a legacy. It definitely would be a stamp of approval, but it's more about him winning the championship. It does not matter who the champion he beats. That's why some people who still like the Seth Rollins feud was totally fine with Seth Rollins winning Money in the Bank, cashing in so Cody can be him for the championship, because it does not matter who Cody Rhodes beats for the championship. It's about Cody Rhodes winning the championship. So that's also a waste of Roman Reigns' 2-year title run. You do not want the 2-year title run to go down to somebody where they're like, oh, great, Cody won. Oh, yeah, Roman lost is the second thing. You want that to be the first thing.
I totally agree everything you just said. And I think he does need to win the title, Cody Rhodes. Like, I feel like, you know, he's right there. He, as far as a babyface goes, he's one of the best WWE have got. Only enhanced by the Hell in a Cell performance. Like you said, though, it doesn't really matter who he beats to get there. The thing with Roman is, like, ideally, like, the person who beats Roman ideally is your next Roman. It's not just somebody you want. Like, you could give Gunther his first title run. Is he really going to be your next Roman? Like, he's an amazing talent and stoic character and all of this stuff, but he's not going to be the poster guy. And please don't chop me, Gunther. But he's not going to be like out there doing all the press and the super. You know, he is a wrestler. That man is a wrestler. So as much as I think, man, Gunther and Reigns, that fucking slaps. Like, that's going to be a great encounter, and Gunther is just having 5-star matches out his ass. Like, he is someone, again, like Cody, who should get there, but not at the expense of Roman. Ideally, if Cena had a 2 or 3 year title run, Roman would have been the guy you said, you know what, that's the next guy. Right now, who beats Roman? I mean, I'm sure WWE in their mind were thinking Bron Breakker at one point, and they probably were thinking Gable Steveson. Neither of those are either A, as enticing as they were at first, or B, working out as they had hoped. You know, that's another report we've seen with Steveson. WWE apparently, Sid, are not over the moon with the progress that he's been making. They would have had him on a trajectory to be featuring at the next WrestleMania. Doesn't look like, yeah, you've got more charisma. Look at that. You know, it doesn't look like that's going to work out. And that's probably put their plans in disarray, because Lesnar and him was an easy story to tell in many ways. And, you know, what are you going to do? Waste Brock on someone who's not really picking up the fundamentals? It doesn't seem a wise decision.
Yeah, that's why they let go of Parker Bordeaux, Harlan. So I'm not surprised that Cable Steveson hasn't progressed the way they wanted him to. If you saw by his roaring bouts of charisma that he showed off at WrestleMania 38, you could have saw right then and there that this was not going to work out, or not work as quickly as WWE thought it would. And I thought it would, especially after
I did.
WrestleMania. I said that he was one of the 3 that needed to end Cody Roman's run. I said Cody was in that group, but like I just said before, I'm out of that. I don't think Cody's the right guy to end Roman's run. Obviously, Gable Steveson isn't. But as far as Bron Breakker, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. They have booked him horribly for this big thing. Unstoppable Goldberg meets Roman meets Cena. They basically are just trying to make him a hodgepodge of all that stuff. And also, he's a Steiner without the Steiner name. And all they had to do is just push him like this unstoppable monster babyface. But no, they had him lose a triple threat to Dolph Ziggler. Then you would think that it's just simple booking. You're taking the title off your up-and-comer without him losing. So when you have the Big Show, he can win the Big Show, have the celebration at the end. No, they didn't do that. They had Dolph beat him as stand to deliver. and then they had him win in a middle of the first hour Raw match in Dallas after WrestleMania, and then
Also
his
there.
first feud after that is against Joe Gacy. Joe Gacy. Oh,
Joe Gacy humanized that man as well. He was getting to him weekly. Man. Let me have a look at some of the ultra chats here. John says, have Roman win the Rumble as champion. I wouldn't be surprised. Triple H done that. What else we got? If they don't split the title, who does Cody face? Seth, I suppose. I know they've already done their series, but enough time has passed by the time Cody gets back. Cody to me is the obvious Rumble winner. If the titles are split, I would back him 1,000,000%. Like, I think that's what the crowd would want, but with Roman champion, not sure. So yeah, thank you, John. Once again, very hearty contributor tonight. Thank you, brother. So yeah, I get that's our Roman news tonight. Take some of a pinch of salt, take others more seriously. But it is a thing, man, where you look at who could possibly be next. It is a difficult conversation. At one point, many of us were saying, you know what, like Velveteen Dream looked like he had the propensity to be that kind of guy. Boy, could we be more fucking roll with him. He can't stop fucking up if you look at the reports lately. But, you know, Riddle, maybe WWE look at. I still don't think he's Cena, Reigns, Rock like that. When I line those three up, that's hard air to get into.
Yeah.
Really, really hard, right? Like they're big guys, all of them, right? Muscular, look larger than life. They have big personalities. They deliver big matches. Good looking guys. Like it's basically that they've got it that to be the superstar. That's what you got to have. You might want to push Madcap Moss, right? But he's not going to be the guy either. So it's very difficult. It honestly is. I don't know if I have the right answer right now of who the next guy would be. But a few months ago, when I thought Stevenson might, take to it like Angle, I thought it might be him, just from a pedigree standpoint. He's got some bad press around his name as well, in certain quarters. But I think it's very, very hard now to make a case for who should be the next person to dethrone Roman. And that's a problem in itself.
Yeah. And it stopped. The biggest problem with the Roman Reigns title reign is it stopped becoming people asking more who is going to end the reign. It's been now, when is this reign going to end? People are just asking, when is it going to end? The last, Clash at the Castle seemed like the perfect opportunity to do it. They didn't do it. And I think now people are succumbing to the fact that this is going into WrestleMania 39 and a match that definitely does not need the two world championships on the line, Roman Reigns and The Rock, because that will sell out any building without any titles. Just put Rock Reigns and that will sell out with any wrestling fan. And it's looking like it's going to be for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship.
Look, I'm all for Rock and Roman, all for it. It's just getting a bit dicey now because it seems like they've kept it on Roman purely for that, is what it seems at this point. Like all of those people, and I see again, we keep bringing up Louis. I saw him making a case earlier, and I think Sean did as well. Ross Sapp, that he doesn't need the belt. But it's like, why have they kept it this long then? And I've seen the reports of they want to make him the legend of his era. They've kept it for this match. Don't forget, Hollywood was meant to be 2 years ago. Hollywood was meant to be 37, where Roman would have been champion for what, like a year? Just under
Less
a year?
than a year, like 6 years,
yeah,
6 months.
Because he got it in August, and it would have been April. So 8 months, right? That is when it was hoped for originally. No doubt about it. Hollywood was the goal. Of course, things happened. We had to move. Tampa comes in, COVID. And then Dallas the year after that was already booked in. And they finally got their way back down to Hollywood. I really believe, not that I know, but I really believe that they've just kept it to circle it back to this match.
I 100% agree with you. Like they have created a whole title run for a match that does not need a title. I'm going to keep stressing the fact that this match does not need a title. I guarantee you. I don't care if it's under Triple H, Triple M, Vince McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, Linda McMahon, Vincent Kennedy. It does not matter. This match does not need the championship, and I guarantee you when the build happens, the championship won't be the most important thing involved.
There you have it. There you have it. We're going to start winding down this show now, guys. Remember to like, share, subscribe. ITR clips. You know what to do to support this channel and this show. We appreciate you here. It's just a two-man team now. We're back with Sat taking a departure to pastures new. But guys, if you have anything in the live chat, I know there's a few of you there right now that have been active. Ace Shock, Ace Stew, John, all you good guys that have been there tonight. Really appreciate it. Ryan as well. Archibald, that's a great name. And Will. Guys, if you have any questions, do put it into the live chat and we will have a little dabble in the final few minutes here. But otherwise, SP3, where can people find you this week?
Well, first you can follow me on the Twitter machine at TrueHeelSP3. You can follow me over on the True Heel Heat YouTube channel. This week I got an interview with Matt Taven, one half of the Impact World Tag Team Champions. Ooh. That's going to be up on our channel this week. Got our AEW Dynamite review on Thursdays, 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:05 p.m. UK, and of course True Heel Heat flagship podcast on Saturdays, 11:05 a.m. Eastern Time. That is True Heel Heat, and you can see the banner perfectly behind me. See, just that smooth. Works that smooth, that good.
Man, what's the deal with you and Wrestle Talk? Is it still terms? Are you still talking, or is it just kind of like until something comes up?
Wrestle Talk, I've been doing. I'm a writer on their on their website. That's all they allow me to do. They are against me because I'm from the United States.
You're a peacock. They got to let you fly. Classic Wahlberg line. But man, yeah, I see a couple of what we got here. What? Just look at the comments. Hey now.
It did look like Sat, just a little bit. He's a happily married man, though.
Yeah, very, very. Ryan, what is this rubbish? Rock would be a transition champion if he won. Do you know what a transition champion is, brother? Tell me. First of all, let me just address this real quick because I think The Rock has made it painstakingly clear that he would love to put over Roman. Yes. So it's one of them matches where the outcome would be almost certain, but I would still be along for the ride, right? Like the story and all, I would be very invested. But the only like small chance that would linger in the back of my mind is I felt the same when The Rock met Cena. And I was convinced that Cena was going to win. And then, of course, The Rock ended up winning the first one. I should have known better. It was in Miami. But at the time, I didn't know that there was going to be the next year, right? So they could do that. They could have Rock win and then you have Roman, but why would you? Is the main point. Why would you? Just let Roman cap off an amazing run and make the next guy. You don't need The Rock to win. I'm just saying from a WWE perspective, who knows? I could imagine they go, well, what would be bigger than doing it again? You're like, oh, fuck. Like that's what they do. But yeah, I don't see it. What about you, SP3?
Yeah, I don't see The Rock being the guy that you end the Roman Reigns 2-year title run for.
The Rock in the Miz role. He's in the Miz role to get it to the next guy.
To get into the next guy. He's simply a transitional champion to the next guy. Oh. No, but I think Roman Reigns definitely should win that matchup. And then I don't want him to necessarily lose it like immediately after. Then that just becomes painstakingly clear that you just kept the title on him. You just kept the title on him to do this one match. Please at least let him make it to SummerSlam. And then let that person who's beat him on a big stage. And then especially if it's August 2023. I'm saying again, 100%. It's Braun Breaker, man. He'll have enough experience by then.
Yeah, let's finish on this one. I like this one from John. Who would you have Cena and Brock face at Mania? I might catch some heat for this. I would have Theory and Cena. I think there'd be a lot of heat in that match because people would really want to see Cena beat Theory. Out of all the equations we've been speaking about lately, none of us has factored in when Theory will cash in. WWE may well think he is that next guy, whether you agree with it or not. I personally think he's a talented guy, good-looking guy, massive. It's just that I think there's still to some people still a little bit of mud on his name from previous stuff, and I don't know. It's hard to buy in, but Cena Theory, dare I say, with Cena going over, it kind of goes against everything that I believe. But if he's, if Theory's still got the briefcase, you could do that.
Think that they could beat him 100 times with that briefcase.
They do. That's the card written rule for a Money in the Bank winner anyway. And then if you don't do this for Brock Lesnar, you're an idiot. It's Brock Lesnar and Gunther. It is Brock Lesnar and Gunther. You heard it here. You have to do that match at WrestleMania. Nothing bigger for either men. Oh my God, wrestling fans would be like, shit, is Brock really going to let him chop him? Like that is a huge matchup. I have no idea if they would do it, but I could see those two matches happening personally. What about you, SB3?
To be different, I would go Cena versus Gunther. Cena going after the one title he's never been able to claim.
I like it.
The Intercontinental Championship. You had Gunther, the original idea that Vince wanted him to be freaking the villain from Rocky 4. You got John Cena who could play Rocky. Perfect works in every single way. As far as Brock,
he dies. Yeah.
For Brock, I would go Brock versus Bobby Lashley. I really want to see them get their stage, get their match with no type of distractions, no type of injuries. I think that Bobby Lashley, they've been building up so well as the United States champion. That's the match I would do.
I would also be interested in Riddle versus either Lesnar or Goldberg, just for the history attached to both. Sure. No Goldberg fan, but I would take Riddle versus Lesnar in a heartbeat, just the real history there. I would take that. Anyway,
give me some Brock Lesnar UFC promos. Give
me some of that. Give me some to the kills, Lesnar. All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining us this week on Monday Night Live. We've enjoyed having your company as usual. Remember, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. We love it when you guys stop by, leave comments on the videos, all of that things. It does help the show. You will be able to see more of us in the next week. We already talked about Sid's schedule. I've got some videos going up on YouTube of the Talk Wrestling show that I did with Kenny McIntosh. So we had Bianca Belair, we had Sheamus. You'll be able to see those full videos. So I believe starting tonight. Bianca Belair is going to be going out tonight. So until then, thank you very much. We will see you next week on Monday Night Live.